Hey guys, it's Hannah and welcome back to the Dyslexic Reader. Today I'm here with a book review. I apologise I haven't uploaded anything recently, but I've really hurt my back and I've spent a couple of days in bed. But with some support I was able to get out of bed today and get up here to talk to you about a book that I read this weekend, which was The Ghost of Heaven by Marcus Sedgwick. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I got this book from the library. I purely picked it up because the cover caught my eye. The sort of, it doesn't really work well on camera, but the sort of like gold effect on matte black and then pale blue pages. And then when I picked it up and read the back, I was intrigued. This book is one story, but it's made up of 4 short stories, which is interesting enough. But then it goes further to say you can read the stories in any order and it'll still make one story. It's like a circle of stories, if you know what I mean, like it all comes together. I read this in order 3, 1, 2, 4, but I would recommend anyone reading it the first time round. I think probably the best order is just 1 through 4 the way they are. It's not so much as you can read them anyway and get a different meaning from them. It's just you can read them anyway and it'll still make sense. But like, I think it would make the most sense if you done it 1 through 4. The underlining theme of the book is the spiral that runs through all the stories in different ways, but you're not really told the meaning of the spiral. It's left up to you to decide what you think it represents. Or means, and why it's turning up in all these different ways. It was classed as YA. It was in the YA section of my library, but I would not be, if you're not a YA fan, I'm not a YA fan, I definitely would be not put off by that sort of category that it's given. I would say this is quite dark and it was quite intellectual, so I wouldn't put it into the YA category. If you're looking for a fun read, this definitely isn't it, and I'll tell you why. The first story is about a young girl in sort of a Neolithical caveman sort of type setting, and it's quite brutal. There's a lot of killing in it, but it's told through sort of like 3-word verse, so the whole quarter of the book is told in verse. Which was quite challenging for me as being someone who's not a great fan of poetry and those sorts of things. So I found that a struggle, and don't know, maybe kind of glad I didn't read that one first, although I think the sense would make order to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Reading that first one, I think I would have put the book down because the prose, the 3-word verse was just like, it was a bit weird, and I think that was probably my least favourite of the stories. The second story is all about a medieval witch hunt. It is about this girl, it's the girl who's convicted of being a witch. This vicar comes to the town and he's like convinced that there's witches everywhere and stuff, and he sort of just blackmails and manipulates everyone into testifying against her. The third one, which was the one I read first, is about a 1920s sort of Long Island insane asylum. This doctor gets a new job and he moves there, and one patient he can't see why he would be in an asylum to begin with, and then the whole sort of true meaning and regime behind the asylum comes to the forefront. Yeah, it was nasty. I didn't like it. There was the staff were abusing the patients physically, sexually, mentally. So it was quite a hard one to read. So I think that would be my second least favourite. But my favourite was the fourth and final story, which was set in the future in a space setting. It's on a starship that's heading to find a new planet for humanity, and there are 10 people on the ship who are meant to wake once just every year. Everyone else is in sleep, all the passengers, the 500 passengers. But there's 10 designated people who wake up every year just to check that everything's okay, and it's centered around one of those people who has to wake up to check the ship's okay and something's not right. And there's something going on in the ship, and I had quite a lot of wow moments in that story, so I think it was my favourite. Also, the ending of that story really wraps up the whole book nicely. Until then, I was like, this is 4 short stories about spirals. It's not, it doesn't make a novel. Just 4 short stories about the same thing doesn't make a novel. Like a textbook, you can read it in any order. It's about the same thing, but it doesn't matter. But the ending really tied it up together. I'm still thinking about how much I like this book. I give it a 3 stars on Goodreads, which is normally, that would be my go-to default, and then I would have to find reasons to knock it down or find reasons to bump it up. I might in the future go back and bump it up. It's one of those sorts of books, but for now I'm sticking at 3 stars because I did not like the free verse, and I was a bit confused by the whole thing and what was really necessary, and could they have edited it down any. And the ending was really good. It really wowed me. The last story was hard. When I said this was not a fun read, it was dark. I told you about the deaths and the abuse and stuff that happens in it, but also the last bit was, it really had my mind going. It was number sequences created out of nothing, and the sort of the numerical sign for spirals and how they're created, and it was all quite scientific and a bit over the head. It was really a brain thinker, the M one, and then how it ended and how all the stories tied together was a real like sort of psychological thinker. But overall I did like this book, and I think it was quite an experimental thing. I've never really heard of anything quite like it, and I think if you see it about, wouldn't necessarily recommend going out and buy it, but if you see it about at a second-hand shop or a library, I would definitely encourage you to pick it up and give it a read. I hope you're all happy, I hope you're all healthy, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!